Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into one of the most famous and, frankly, most controversial UFO stories of all time, the account of Bob Lazar. His claims are either the biggest lie ever told or the most important truth ever revealed. So let's get into it.
And that right there, that's the heart of the entire story. A machine that could literally create its own gravity. It's the one thing Lazar always comes back to as proof that what he was working on was not from this world.
But this story isn't just about some wild alien technology. It's about the guy who says he was hired to figure it out. So how on earth did he even get in the door? Well, the journey there is just as bizarre as the destination.
See, before he was a UFO legend, Bob Lazar was a physicist, a really smart but kind of unconventional one. He was known for, building a jet-powered Honda in his spare time. And that obsession with unconventional propulsion, well, it was about to take him to a very, very strange place.
So how does a guy messing with a jet car land a top-secret government gig? It's a crazy sequence of events. It all starts in 1982. He's a physicist at Los Alamos, and his jet car hobby gets him on the front page of the paper. That exact same day, he happens to meet the legendary Dr. Edward Teller. Yeah, the father of the hydrogen bomb. Fast forward 6 years. Lazar wants back into the high-tech world, so he drops Teller's name as a reference. And boom, that name gets him an interview with a defense contractor called EG&G for a very mysterious advanced propulsion project.
So Lazar gets the job. And this, right here, is where the story completely veers off the road from a normal classified project and drives straight into science fiction. His new office wasn't just in a secure building. It was hidden from the world.
He'd fly out of Las Vegas on the now infamous secret airline, Janet, to Area 51. But that wasn't even the final stop. From there, he was put on a bus with blacked-out windows and driven to an even more secret base, a place called S4, camouflaged into the side of a mountain.
On his second day, he walks into a hangar, and there it is, a flying saucer. He said at first he just thought it was some secret U.S. aircraft. He even saw a little American flag sticker on the side, which he found kind of funny. He walked over, tried to touch it, and was immediately screamed at by the guards.
This was the moment everything changed for him. He was shown a small device, about the size of a basketball. When they turned it on, it generated its own gravity field. He put his hand near it and said it physically pushed him away. Like when you try to force two magnets together. He knew right then, we don't have this. This is something else entirely.
His whole job was to try and reverse engineer technology that he himself called borderline magic. So, what did this impossible thing actually look like?
The specific craft he worked on, which they called the sport model, had 3 levels. On the very bottom, you had 3 big gravity amplifiers. In the middle level was the reactor itself, right under the cockpit. And then the top level was all for navigation and guidance systems.
And the inside was even crazier than the outside. Lazar said it looked like it was all one piece, like it was molded or fused together. No sharp corners, no seams, no bolts. The chairs inside were tiny, like they were made for something maybe 3 feet tall. And get this, there were no wires connecting anything, all these advanced components, and no visible connections between them. He says his sport model was just one of 9 completely different craft they had stored in those hangars.
Okay, so you've got a gravity reactor, but how do you fuel it? What could possibly power something like that? Well, according to the secret briefings Lazar was given, the fuel source was a stable version of an element that, back then, wasn't even on our periodic table. Element 115.
Lazar came up with this really powerful analogy to explain just how out of their depth they were. He said it was like taking a modern nuclear reactor back to the Victorian age. The scientists back then would be fascinated, but they'd all drop dead from radiation poisoning without ever knowing what killed them. That's how they were with this technology. In fact, he was told that the guy who had his job before him died when he tried to cut into one of the reactors.
So if this was the biggest secret in the world, why are we hearing about it? Well, after a few months on the job, Lazar's excitement started to curdle into paranoia, and he made a decision that changed everything.
His bosses put a hold on his security clearance, supposedly because of some drama in his personal life. He got spooked. He thought they were going to erase him. So,
To prove he wasn't making it all up, he took a few friends out to the desert on a Wednesday night. He knew the test flight schedule, to secretly watch a test flight.
And they saw it. They watched the craft fly, just like he'd said. But on their third trip out there, they got careless, and they got caught. Lazar was taken in for a very intense interrogation. After that, he was convinced his only life insurance was to go public with the whole story. He called up a local investigative reporter, George Knapp, and well, the rest is history.
But going public wasn't some magic shield. It had immediate and severe consequences. The action of going public on TV led to a direct threatening phone call from his old supervisor. When the full story aired, friends he told lost their jobs or their security clearances. And for Lazar himself, choosing to become a public figure meant signing up for 3 decades of harassment, ridicule, and official denials.
But here's the thing. The story just refused to go away. And over the last 30 years, some of Lazar's most unbelievable claims have started to look, well, weirdly plausible. Which is why this debate is still raging today.
Okay, first up, Element 115. When he first said that in 1989, it was pure science fiction. But then in 2003, scientists actually created it in a lab. It was officially added to the periodic table as moscovium. Now, the lab-made version is incredibly unstable. It decays in a fraction of a second. But Lazar was always very specific. He said he was working with a stable isotope.
And then there was the hand scanner. He described this futuristic security device you'd put your hand on and it would measure the bones inside. People laughed at that. But guess what? It was later proven that a device called an identimat, which did exactly that, was in use at secure facilities like Los Alamos around that same time. How would he know that?
Now, on the other side of the coin, you've got the biggest point of controversy. When people went to check his background, they hit a brick wall. His university degrees from places like MIT and Caltech, even his birth certificate, gone, vanished. For skeptics, this is proof positive he's a liar. For his supporters, it's proof of an incredibly effective cover-up. But here's the twist. Even though Los Alamos officially denies he ever worked there, 2 pieces of evidence eventually surfaced. An internal lab phone book from 1982, and that front-page newspaper article about his jet car. Both of them list Bob Lazar, a physicist at the lab. So that part of his story, a part the government denied, was absolutely true.
And just when you think this story can't get any wilder, Lazar dropped another bombshell years later. Based on the briefing documents he read, he now believes that at least one of the 9 saucers at S4 wasn't just alien. It was ancient, recovered not from a crash, but from an archaeological dig right here on Earth.
So, what are we left with? Is it an elaborate hoax by a brilliant fraud? Or is it the biggest secret in human history, told by the man who was there? The evidence contradicts itself, the claims are astounding, and the man at the center of it all is still an enigma. After more than 30 years, the one thing we know for sure is that Bob Lazar's story, it just refuses to disappear.